Hi everybody, welcome to Scone Baking Beyond. Hi, I'm Kathy and I enjoy making scones, muffins, cookies, and all sorts of delicious baked goodies. Well, today I have a treat for you. I'm going to show you how to make my blue ribbon SPAM Hello Dolly Bars. These classic cookies won first place at the Great American Spam Championship at the 2017 Washington State Fair. So, let's bake. The first thing we're going to do is dice up our Spam. So I've already started dicing it up. So I have 2 slices here and I cut it lengthwise. So the dicing of the Spam is about pea size. So there we are lengthwise, and I'll turn it and then I'll just cut it across. And again, I'm just dicing it about pea size because you want this Spam on the small size so that when you go add your brown sugar and maple syrup, it's going to really candy it up and make it crunchy. So you're going to get this sweet, salty, crunchy bit in your SPAM Hello Dolly Bars. Okay, now that our Spam is all diced up, it's time to add it to the pan. Oh, one's trying to get away there. That's not going to happen. So I add all of our diced up Spam to our pan. Now we're going to cook this for 15 to 20 minutes until it's totally cooked, the fat is rendered out, and it's nice and brown. So we're almost there. My Spam is getting nice and golden brown. In fact, we want this Spam to be a little on the dark brown side. That way we know that all the fat has been rendered out. One way you can tell in a skillet like this stainless steel skillet I have is that as the fat renders out totally, your Spam no longer sticks to the bottom anymore. There's now the fat on the bottom that the Spam is sizzling in. And you know how bacon sizzles and they get that nice little foamy bubbles coming up when the bacon is totally cooked? Well, that's what you're looking for in your Spam. Is that same wonderful sizzle and the little bubbles coming up. We're going to cook this totally up like you would bacon, and we're candying it just like you would bacon. We're going to make it nice and sweet, so when it's all done, the Spam is salty and sweet and crunchy. So it's been 20 minutes. It's nice and browned up. Let me see if I can find, yeah, see how this is sizzling up right there? Nice and sizzled. All the fat has been rendered out, nice and browned up. So now it's time to add the sweetener. So what I have here is 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and 1 tablespoon of maple syrup. And that's going to make the Spam nice and sweet. Oh, it's going to be so good. You can almost eat this Spam just plain by itself after this gets done cooking in this sugar. So we're going to cook this for about 1 to 3 minutes. Just watch it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to start burning the Spam or burning the sugar. But you want this really nice and dark brown at this point. And that's what's going to make it nice and sweet and crunchy. At this point, you want to keep on stirring this because at this point, you don't want that sugar to burn. We are getting to the sweeter side of Spam right now. There we go. Oh, nice and dark brown. That looks great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn that off. I have a paper towel lined bowl, and we're going to pour this in here because we want to get that fat out of our Spam at the moment. So I'm going to pour that into my paper, and there's some that didn't want to go in the paper. There we go. We'll get it. Get all those nice little crunchy bits down there. There we go. Put that over there. So what I'm going to do is I let this sit here, oh, just for a few seconds actually. There we go. Get that over there. Get in there. All right. So what we're going to do is just let this sit here for a few seconds. Shake it around. And then I just kind of shake it out. But we try to get as much fat as we can. But you can't leave this on the paper towel because as you see, because of that sugar, it starts to stick. So we can't leave that on there because otherwise you'll never get these little bits off of the paper towel and you'll have to cook some more Spam. There we go. That looks good. Put that there. There we are. We're going to set this aside until it's totally cooled, and then we're going to put our SPAM Hello Dolly Bar cookies together. Okay, it's time to start assembling this super simple classic cookie bar. And my SPAM is all cooled down, and as you can hopefully hear this, it's all nice and crunchy now. So it's super sweet and salty and crunchy. So I have here 2 cups of graham cracker crumbs, and I'm going to add to it 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. And the reason why I use unsalted butter is because that SPAM does have quite a bit of salt in it itself. So I use unsalted butter, so that's 1/2 cup of melted unsalted butter. I'm going to add this to my graham cracker crumbs until it looks like wet sand. Now you can use already made up graham cracker crumbs, and it's 2 cups, or you can make your own graham cracker crumbs, and that would be 9 full sheets of graham crackers, and you put them either in your food processor to crumb them up, or you can put them in a Ziploc bag and then use a rolling pin to smash them all up. But if I use the Ziploc bag, then I usually double that Ziploc bag, because I tend to get a little crazy when I make graham cracker crumbs, and I tend to break the bag. So this looks all nice and moistened up. And what you're looking for is wet sand. Think of sand on the beach that the tide is out and that sand is all nice and wet, and that's what we're looking for. Kind of sandcastle wet. So we're going to put this in my 9x13 prepared pan, and I did spray it with some cooking spray, and because we don't want this graham cracker crust to stick on the bottom, so you want it this lightly sprayed with some cooking spray. And it is a 9x13 pan, and I'm going to pour all this in here. So we're just going to pat this out and fill up this whole pan, and it will spread about the entire pan. So I usually start with the fork, just kind of get it evenly spread. And this recipe was inspired by a trip to Waikiki to celebrate my parents' 70th wedding anniversary. And while we were there, there's this great food festival called SPAM Jam going on. So while I'm pressing this down here, and I always go around the edges, try and show you, and just press down the edges so that they're not built up. There we go. Just go around all the edges and press it all down. You don't have to totally press this down, because the sweetened condensed milk we're going to put in here will absorb into this graham cracker crust and help tighten up this graham cracker crust. So we just want to press this down. Anyway, this recipe was inspired by a trip to Waikiki to celebrate my parents' 70th wedding anniversary. And while we were there, we got to go to SPAM Jam. And SPAM Jam is this wonderful food festival in Waikiki where all the local restaurants come together, and they have all these creative and delicious ways to serve SPAM. So anyway, that's what prompted this whole recipe. So now that we got our graham cracker crust in there, it's time to add our SPAM. And remember, we cooked it all up, we candied it, it's got brown sugar and maple syrup in it, and as you can hear, it's nice and crunchy, so it's wonderfully sweet and salty and crunchy. So we're going to add those and just distribute those around. So once a year, about the end of April, I think it's always the last weekend of April, is when they have SPAM Jam in downtown Waikiki. It goes for about 4 blocks, and the local restaurants, like I said, serve these wonderful creative SPAM dishes and other dishes too. So it isn't all SPAM, but that is what's highlighted is SPAM. And it's wonderful. They have 3 stages of entertainment. They have other local artisans. And also, it's a fundraiser for Hawaii Food Bank. So it's a great event in April. So if you're ever in Hawaii in April, you need to go check out SPAM Jam. So now that we have all of our SPAM on our graham cracker crust, the next thing we add is 1 cup of macadamia nuts. Because I decided I'm going to give my Hello Dolly Bars a little Hawaiian twist. So I'm adding 1 cup of chopped up macadamia nuts, and they already come pre-chopped, but I give them a little extra chop. So we're going to distribute those all around, make sure they get everywhere. And now for 1 cup of sweetened coconut. And I use sweetened coconut because these are kind of sweet cookies. So I add sweetened coconut to it. Now some people call this bar cookie a 7-layer bar, but I don't have 7 layers in here, but I have about 5 layers in here. And some people call it their magic cookie bar, and I have one friend, she says she calls it her lazy day bar. So this classic cookie bar does have many different names to it, but I like the classic Hello Dolly bar. So there we are, we just spread out our coconut all over the place. And now I have one 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk, and I'm going to pour this on. Because I won the Great American SPAM Championship at the 2017 Washington State Fair, I had the opportunity to be on the King5TV New Day Northwest show with Margaret Larson, where I got to show everyone how super simple this recipe is and how sweet and wonderful it tastes. So I'm going to get out my spatula because we want to get all of this wonderful sweetened condensed milk all over. And you just want to kind of lattice it around your bars. Now you cannot spread this sweetened condensed milk on there because then you'll just move all the coconut and macadamia nuts around. I tried that once. It didn't work. So just pour it on and it will just spread out as it cooks. So that's how super simple this recipe is to make. We're going to bake it at 350 degrees for about 25-30 minutes. So check it in about 25 minutes. It usually takes about 30 minutes to cook. So what you want it to be is nice and golden brown, and you know it's going to be delicious. Okay, it's been 30 minutes and it's nice and golden brown. We're going to let this cool for about an hour, and then it's time to cut it up and try a piece. Now that our cookies have cooled completely, I've cut them up and they're ready to try. So I'm going to try the one in the middle. When you eat these, you have no idea that there's SPAM in there. You get this little bit of salty, crunchy bit, and you have no idea what it is. You think it's the macadamia nuts, maybe it's the coconut, or the graham cracker crust, but you're not quite sure what that sweet, salty, crunchy bit is. In fact, during the judging, one of the judges thought it was a chocolate chip in there. And she looked through my recipe and said, there's no chocolate chips in there. But she thought for sure she had tasted chocolate chips in there. Just shows the sweeter side of SPAM. It's wonderful. So I want to thank the Blue Ribbon Group and Hormel Foods for sponsoring the Great American SPAM Championship at the 2017 Washington State Fair. And I also want to thank King5TV for having me on the New Day Northwest show with Margaret Larson. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed sharing my recipe with everybody, and it actually was my first time on TV. So I was a little nervous at first, but once Margaret came on the set, she just made everything go so smoothly and made it a great time. So thank you for watching. For the complete recipe for the super simple SPAM Hello Dolly Bar recipe, please go to my website, sconebaking.com. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for future videos. Thank you for watching.